Welcome to The Girl Herd,
where we talk Texas football.
and a bunch of takes you probably already heard.
But not from us.
Welcome back to the Coaches Series. This week, we are excited to bring you Coach Sam Padgitt. He has more than 2 decades of Texas high school football coaching experience in every position you can imagine except for linebackers. He also has multiple state championship appearances under his belt, including at famed programs like Converse, Judson, and South Oak Cliff. Coach Padgitt, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, ladies, for having me. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, your career, it's taken you all over the state. And you mentioned that you've put 100 student athletes in college via football scholarship.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
number is super staggering. What's behind your success?
Well, great students, great student athletes, great families, great parents, great assistant coaches, great coaches, great networking. Just overall, the profession has just been a blessing to myself. And, just great kids that buy into what we sell as high school football coaches. Because I tell guys, we don't punch a clock. We work till the done is done. And our main goal should be to get all student athletes, male as well as female, opportunities to get to the next level for free. That's what I preach. I don't care where you go. Free is free. No student debt is the goal. No loans are the goal. Graduate with that, AS or that BS or that MA debt free. That's what I preach. And it's been a blessing over the last 23 years to do so. And that just sounds so old, but it is what it is. It's a blessing. And I'm thankful for it, but without a great supporting cast from family to friends to great student athletes and great parents who see the vision, because sometimes teens, they don't see the vision. They just see, dang, coach is on me. Dang, coaches always want me to hold up a B average or better. Dang, we're grinding like this. We meet like Congress. We lift these weights. We have to be here at this time. And punctuality to me is of the utmost importance. That's why when we were having these technical difficulties, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. But we worked things out and, here we are. Those 100+ athletes, I look at them as investments, because they're going to coach my kids or my grandkids one of these days. And I just want people to understand and be able to sing the praises of, you want to coach P's guys, and bumping into former athletes, and they remember way back when they were running the 40-40s or the 21-50s and, the plate work, just an investment, I had the pleasure of speaking to a couple of athletes the other day via text message. And they were, asking me about my next move and so on and so forth. And, and I was like, well, I don't like to put things out there before they're done. So, I'll keep that, near and dear to me. But, they were showing their appreciation about how I prepared them for, college and the NFL and so on and so forth. And it was funny because it was Devon Achane, who now plays for the Miami Dolphins, and another DB, Gio. And we were just, having a conversation via text, and they were just saying they appreciated everything I did for them while they were at Marshall High School, going above and beyond. I remember Gio ran out of gas one night at 11, and I'm like, what are you doing out in the streets this late, so on and so forth? And the car broke down, and him and Antonio, they were just like, Coach, we're sorry for calling you so late. Can you, and I'm like, y'all owe me. So they knew they owed me. But it's all investments, and it was all a blessing. And I count it all joy to be able to do so.
You mentioned a little bit about your 23 years in coaching and the hundreds of kids that you've transitioned into college. How have you seen the landscape of college football when it comes to recruiting and the NIL deals and things like that change during your time?
Night and day, night and day. And when I say night and day, I look at it as the blessing and the curse, because let's say I have most recent cases of certain guys squeaking by to get that Division I offer, that lower level Division I offer. they sign and then they get there and they're like, well, this is not where I want to be. I'm gonna go ahead and hop into the portal. And then they leave where they barely squeaked by to get into, thinking I'm gonna hit the portal and I'm just gonna transfer schools and I'm gonna get picked up by someone bigger and better. It doesn't work out for everyone like that. And I tell people, do not, it's really on the job training now. Don't go somewhere until you have somewhere else lined up, ready to offer you a role at their institution. And I look at it as modern day free agency, just like a lot of other coaches. And we look at it as a blessing and a curse, and it's getting ready to matriculate down to the Texas high school football ranks. And we know it, we see it coming a mile away. It's just the blessing and the curse. The blessing, if you're able to be a part of one of those institutions that can pay those big bucks, just realize you're going to grind for those big bucks. You're going to every day at football practice is going to be like a game, and every game is going to be a contractual obligation to do your best, whether you're hurt or not. And that's one of the things that I'm leery of, is that now student athletes is now going to be paid for play athletes. They're not going to worry about the student as much, because now you're making more than some of your assistant coaches. You're making more than some of those professors that are teaching you. And I had a young athlete that I coached several years ago who, once they started the NIL deals, he was like, oh, I got to get this bag. I got to get this bag. And I was like, son, you've been broke for 18 years in your life. Don't chase the bag. Chase that degree. That's something the bag will find you, just please. In 4 years, 5 years, thank me with a degree. That's all I ask any of my student athletes. Thank me with a degree. I don't need sideline tickets. I don't need passes. I don't need jerseys. Can attain all that with a phone call. Please thank me with a piece of paper, because some of the times a lot of kids I've coached have been first generational, graduates, and they see that later on in life, mid-20s, early 30s, but they don't see it when they're a teenager, that mom and dad did not attain a degree, or grandma and grandpa did not attain that degree, or the great grands and grandfathers weren't able to get that degree. So I just tell them, look at it from that perspective, when they get ready to quit and throw in the towel, or just walk away from that institution who's paying for everything, just because I'm not one of the top dogs, or I'm not able to get this pay, or I'm not able to get as bigger bag as the next man. And I'm like, since when did we worry about the next guy's pockets? That's a big thing. But it's a blessing and a curse. Like I say, it's a blessing and a curse. And to me, some of those guys, when we talk about how much they're getting per month, I'm in awe. But also, I tell them, check your schedule. You're actually paying for it way more than you know, because it's football all day. It's football all year. It's football year round. But you're getting paid a princess price to do a proper job. So,
And I guess we'll see how it goes, because it's all still very new. I kind of want to go back to something you mentioned around these 100 gentlemen that you were able to help with, getting into college and the scholarships and, what it means to you. I don't know how much you know about this story, but I was kicking back yesterday, catching up on TV. And at Michigan State, Mateen Cleaves, he is a basketball player, was a star basketball player at Michigan State under Izzo, of course. And he famously went to go kiss the center of the court, which is like one of their traditions that like started, ended, and he sort of restarted it. But the point of the story is there was a guy on the team that was an underclassman, and who he was giving a lot of crap. And, the underclassmen come on and you got to like row them up. And now Mateen Cleaves works for him, like in real life at an insurance company. And I just thought, wow, that's so cool. My sister, by the way, she coaches varsity basketball in the state of Texas and got the chance to coach for my high school coach and her high school coach. So I'm curious, have you had any players that were inspired by you and got to coach alongside, or they went into the profession?
Yes. As a matter of fact, being a part of the Black Coaches of Texas Association, we actually prepare, promote, empower our young student athletes that we have coached, and we make sure that their resumes are on point. We help them out with interview training. I always, I majored in communications, in undergrad. So I know the importance of being able to articulate in a myriad of situations in front of the camera. And I always prepped my guys to give praise, and accept criticism all the time. It's just, a caveat of mine to prep the guys to know what's coming and to be able to answer those questions, the tough questions, and even the curveballs that may come their way. And, I haven't personally hired anyone yet, having not been a head coach just yet, but that nod is coming. That blessing is coming. I receive it. I feel it in my bones. And, I'm taking those necessary steps to align myself in order to receive that blessing and be ready when the time comes. But I've placed young men and been references for young men as well as women to get those jobs, from basketball coaches, from female basketball coaches to D-line coaches. I don't know of any coordinators just yet, but they're all position coaches because they're still young, and I tell guys to embrace the journey, because if you blink, you're 23 years in. But I remember the early days at Martin High School, then matriculating to Converse, Judson, playing Euless Trinity in the 06 state football game, then going to from Converse Judson, then going to East Texas and coaching at Cujo, John Tyler High School under Coach Brooks and Derek Rush. And then from there, leaving, going to South Oak Cliff, coaching under Emmett Jones, who's now the passing coordinator at Oklahoma University of Oklahoma. And so from there, now I'm at Fort Bend Marshall. And so, having those runs under those gentlemen, learned a lot of football, seen a lot of things, made a lot of phenomenal runs, a lot of networking, a lot of friendships, a lot of contacts, and now being able to place student athletes in various jobs under various coaches that I've networked with, met, groomed. It's a blessing. And like I said, hopefully some of these gentlemen will wind up coaching my kids or grandkids when the time comes, because then I'll know they're being coached up right.
So you're talking about your coaching career, and we said that you've coached every different position.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
have a love for offense, defense? Do you any highs you want
I have
to?
a love for offense. It's funny you say that, because I was just speaking to a couple of guys, and they were like, have you ever thought about defense? Have you ever thought about shutting? What would you do to shut yourself down? And I was thinking long and hard, and I was like, no. And so I was propositioned to make that transition, and I'm thinking about it long and hard now, because I kind of know what it takes. Because when I go to clinics, I always sit on the defensive side. Even though I'm an offensive coordinator, offensive guy, I always go to defensive meetings to pick up the little nuances and how they would try to stop my offense, because we're fast-paced, up-tempo, speed and space. And that's what we pride ourselves in, air raid attack, so on and so forth, and just, giving you multiple looks and running the same exact plays, just different RPOs, whether it's second level or third level, things of that nature. But my love is the offensive side of the ball. Since I started coaching quarterbacks about 8 years ago, I feel like when you start coaching quarterbacks, you have the keys to the city, because now the quarterback gets to see the game and play the game how you see the game and play the game. And I pride myself in having my quarterbacks know what they know and then know some more, meaning, sometimes they have to do some uncoachable things out there on the football field to where, I'm up in the booth or I'm on the sideline, but, from our film study, from our meetings, from our like-minded, film sessions, I always, when we're sitting watching film, I'll always pause so they can get a view, and then I'll play the defensive play, and then I'll stop it, and they have to articulate the game and let me know what they see, what they would do and what they would do as a counter if A and B went wrong. What would you do in C? So, just various ways to make sure my guys are prepared and we're all on the same page. So when it comes to game day, there's no hiccups. And if there are hiccups, we have a plan A, B, as well as C. I'm an offensive guy, They would start with quarterbacks, then it would go to O-line and tight ends. The tight end H-back has become my best friend in the last 2 years. 3 years, last 2 to 3 years. I now kind of adjusted. I say at first it was always give me my quarterback, give me my running back, and y'all can have the next 11. Well, now it's give me my quarterback, give me my center, give me my tight end, and y'all can have the next 11. Because I now know or see the importance of having a tight end. And then I reflect back to the Cowboys in the early 90s, why Jay Novacek was so important to Corey Aikman and those guys, So I'm showing my age again. But anyways.
Not at all.
Being somebody who thrives and loves the offensive side of the ball and seeing that we all are Texas alum, how do you see Texas going into the SEC this coming year and what their offense is going to look like?
It's going to be amazing, man. It is going to be amazing. Sark has got the pieces of the puzzle in the right places. I thought the deal was going to be sealed last year, but I think y'all were one player away or one play away actually from, going to the big show. And I was hoping that, being in Houston, I was hoping UT would just drive, 3 hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours down 71, hit I-10 and be in the NRG, but it didn't work out like that. And I was bummed, but at the time we had a gentleman committed to Washington. So it was kind of one of those,
win-win, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
A win-win for you.
Yes, it was definitely
essentially
a win-win because at the time, Blair, he was able to watch Washington on the sideline and he was asking, did I want to go? And I was like, no, you and your family enjoy that time because I know how much of a blessing that is because I remember that young man when he first came to us at Marshall, he was trying to play quarterback. He was trying. And I was trying to get him to play quarterback because he was a 6'1" freshman. And I was like, man, you got it, man. You just gotta, you gotta light that fire and rev that engine because we go how you go. But it just didn't work out. Let me say that. But he went to nickel safety, and the rest is history. Like he was one of those guys that was too good of an athlete to sit on the sideline. And I tell people, football players play football. Put them somewhere, It didn't work out for him at quarterback, but through all the film study and defensive study and so on and so forth, he was able to transition to nickel safety and not miss a beat. And, speed and space. And, he was one of those guys that would hit you and he'd run through you. And his highlight film, it was 3 minutes of ooh-wee hits. That's why he had every offer in the nation when it came to coming out last year. It's just, that coaching change, when coaches change, that new coaching staff usually throws that list out the window and he got caught up in that. And it's sad when, I'm not going to say sad because business is business. It's just when the team you're committed to goes into the national championship game and signing day or early signing day has already passed, and you're saying I'm down with this team, and then that coach gets an offer to go somewhere else and they accept that offer and they don't accept you along with that offer, it kind of leaves you, to dry, especially when everyone else who offered you previously is now full or they have early commitments or they've committed those scholarships to those guys. And not that you waited too long, it's just that you were committed to somewhere that had a coaching change. And it's like, and I tell guys, business is business. And that's why you don't burn bridges. And that's why you talk to those guys who are assistants and GAs, because in the blink of an eye, in 6 months, They could be your position coach. That position coach could be that coordinator. That coordinator can now be that head coach. And so, you never know. And in 8 to 10 years, you could be one of those guys who you're looking to get hired by that guy who recruited you, back 8 years ago, and they remember you and how much of a phenomenal player you were.
So much there, but mostly that I was actually just thinking about the Sugar Bowl against Washington. And I have to agree with you, Coach Padgitt. I was like, you know what? We were missing Jonathan Brooks. It really was one player away. Had he been with us, I think that we punched through. But also, we're 0 for 3 on Houston, Texas, and either UT or the University of Houston playing for a natty. But I think that's all by the universe's design. I think we'd all still be in the street partying had Texas actually been there. So although I'm sad, I'm a little bit happy because we are all gainfully employed and not partying in the streets anymore. But
right.
something else I wanted to mention, I think
And
also
that UT U of H game, that game was way closer than everybody thought it was going to be. It was like,
we don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah.
Like
We're stirring the pot.
Yep. Yeah, you're hitting us where it hurts. You're talking about Sugar Bowl, UTU.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But hey, Houston came to play that day. I was just like, wait. We knew it was going to be hot, playing a 2:00 game or midday game, but we didn't know it was going to be like this. So, but I'll let sleeping dogs lie, so I'll leave that alone. Now I know what to talk about and what not to talk about. So let's leave that alone.
Nothing is off the table. It's just,
Hey, how do y'all feel about the old rivalry coming back? The A&M, UT A&M game. Is it during Thanksgiving?
It is. It's they're doing it the Saturday after Thanksgiving this year.
We love
That
it.
is going to be phenomenal. That is going to be an amazing atmosphere. Kyle Field, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh,
of
my
course,
goodness.
right? It's got to be the first game back. We got to do it in A&M's home.
Woo! Wow. And the thing, some of these kids can't even fathom the magnitude of that rivalry or that game.
Correct.
They can't because a lot of them were either in diapers or not even born. No, I'm serious. I'm like, that happened. They when did they end that series? Well, let me say not end it because it wasn't competitive for a long time. It was like,
I think it was like 2012 though, because I remember it was right after we graduated. It was maybe like 1 or 2 more years.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
I want to
for the
say it's 12 or
longest,
13.
A&M was taking it on the chin though, right? Like knockout blow. Like I don't know if it was close. I don't know. I don't remember. But I just remember A&M having a hard time trying to recruit Texas guys, and Texas guys was always big brother. Could be wrong, but I just remember some of those pitches that the A&M recruits had when they would come in the office, trying to steal or flip guys. UT has 4 tires and a spare in the trunk. You can be that other guy that anyway.
But you know what's funny? Back to what you were kind of saying about like transfer portal and NIL. I think that one of A&M's biggest mistakes was not hanging on to Kevin Sumlin. Like they were popping during that run, and it was fun to watch them enter the SEC. I mean, and that's whenever they had Johnny Football, and then they go and get Jimbo. And I mean, I don't know, he just hasn't quite like that investment. I don't think worked out well for them.
You get it. Let me put on my coach's lens. You went and got a guy from Florida to coach a bunch of Texans and teach Texans about football. And I'm not going to say he rubbed guys the wrong way early, but it was just one of those, you're coming from out of town trying to teach a bunch of cattle ranchers how to raise Wagyu. It's like, so to make a long story short, Sumlin did get the short end of the stick because if you put his record and Jimbo's side by side. It was a game or two here or there, actually in Sumlin's favor. And so it was just the timeline that he did not have to flip A&M because, we're in a business of win right now. What have you done for me lately? And I think Sumlin they gave Sumlin 3 years. And NIL, and that's, if you look back at those days, a lot of things they did were NIL based now. Like they'd be praised for what they're doing now. But it was just at the times illegal, with everything that was going on with Johnny football and so on and so forth, like him throwing the touchdown to the young man from Dallas Skyline, coached by Emmett Jones. And it was just one of those coming home moments where A&M is turning the curve because it wasn't Kiffin. Who was the OC for A&M at that time? The old Arizona Cardinals head coach.
Wasn't it Kingsbury?
Kingsbury. Thank you. I was drawing a blank, but I saw his face. And it was just a big party every week, at A&M. It was amazing times because when you think about football, you think about Johnny Football. Like, who has a better name than Johnny Football, but you also think about VY, and that touchdown. And, I remember, it's just moments in time in football that you remember exactly where you were at that time. And I knew VY was going to do his VY thing. He set it up perfectly because I said, why the hell are y'all throwing the ball on the goal line? And he takes off. And I said, and Mac Brown at that time was the greatest coach on earth because I was like, you damn right. Set them up, make them think you're going to throw it. And then just talking to VY, he was like, ain't no way in hell I was throwing that ball. And it's just funny because, you get to have those conversations with guys. And he just knew at that time, he was like, ain't no way in hell I was throwing that ball. So it was what it was. But watching him scamper into the right corner of that end zone, I was like, he ran about a 4.2 right there. And, USC was sick because, Bush, he was supposed to be the man, and VY went into that game with a vendetta like, oh, okay, Mr. Heisman, it's VY time. So just those moments, VY's moments, Johnny Football's moments, just say the Texas football as a whole, that's why I say, just football in Texas is, to me, I'm biased, of course,
Well,
Put some respect on Texas high school football.
I'm saying, but see, okay, here's the thing that I would love to see is Texas versus Florida, Texas versus Louisiana, Texas versus Alabama, the high school level. Someone needs to come up with that, those first 3 preseason games from 0 week to week 1, 2, and 3. You can play 3 out of 4 weeks before you have a dead week or an open week. So those first 3 games, someone needs to schedule Duncanville versus Mater Dei, Duncanville, or, DeSoto versus who's the team out of Florida that everyone rants and raves about?
IMG.
Not IMG, because IMG is a prep school. Some of those guys at IMG, that's unfair. It's unfair.
Some of them are from Texas.
Yes, and that's crazy because they'll host camps in and around the nation or Texas, and the best guys in those positions are at IMG in the summer or the next month. Like, I've seen it firsthand where the best guy or the MVP of those camps get free room and board and everything for the summer to go to IMG and train. And I'm like, that's so wrong. If someone were to come up with a classic game or something of that nature, I think, 1, it'd be phenomenal for all the states. 2, all the states will be able to settle who has the best football, because I'm always screaming Texas, 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 but I'll have coaches screaming Florida, Florida, Florida. Of course, Florida boys. I'll have other guys screaming Mississippi, Mississippi, and I'm like, and then I'll have guys screaming Alabama, Alabama, and I'm like, okay, where do y'all go to recruit the majority of your DBs and guys of that nature? You're recruiting speed out of Texas. And we know that. No. and I'm glad you said that, because put the Texas Times up against the Florida Times when it comes to state track and field. You have Fort Bend Marshall, you have Duncanville, you have DeSoto, and you have a few other schools that are up there, up and coming. You have Lancaster, who has speed. I mean, in Texas, we just have Texas speed. Now in Florida, I look at their, some of their times or some of their relays, not saying they're average, but they don't have multiple teams going sub-zero. And what I mean by that is sub 40 seconds in the 4x100 meter relay. And in Texas, we have several teams going sub 40. So, and then you have guys in Texas who are constantly running sub 10.2. That's phenomenal collegiate track speed when it comes to the 100 meters. And, but speed is speed. But I also would like, guys to run on collegiate style tracks all the time, because then you don't have to worry about, is that high school track really measured properly?
Yeah.
Those tracks.
I actually went to the UIL state track meet for the very first time this year and took my parents with me. Frank was there too, but we were so entertained, and multiple high school records, I'm sure you know this, were broken that day. But I think it's crazy because I was feverishly looking up the 100 meters and 200 meters and being like, oh my gosh, these high school kids can beat literal countries at these races. And, we're doing the trials right now for the U.S. track and field team. And there's a high schooler doing the 400 and he made the finals.
44.56. He got third.
Yes.
And he's 16. I'm like,
wild.
That is crazy. His VO2 is ridiculous, because my chest would be about to fall off if I ran as fast as he is. And he's going up against grown men. I mean, everybody there is college and up. And he's running 44.56 as a 16-year-old. If someone doesn't put a contract in his face immediately and have him sign, because he could be the poster child for track and field for the next 20 years if they play it right.
Oh.
If they play it right, because he's going to break all the records.
100%.
Yeah, he needs to get, I understand he's being brought up right, trained right, so on and so forth. But we also understand with the right pro coach, his ceiling is going to be, he's going to run 43.5 easy by the time he's 18, if he continues on track. And he may be the first sub 43 we've ever seen. He may be the first.
I hope we see it. I mean, one of the things that I thought was cool at the track meet, again, I'm a high school athlete myself, so seeing some of these schools year after year compete at the highest level, when I saw your resume, I was like, the main thing that I want to know about is talk to me. My dad used to always say Converse Judson when he'd see their name listed for state. And it's just something that I always heard and knew about, and obviously saw as well. So what did it mean to you to play for programs like that? Talk to us a little bit about what you can share about inside those walls. How are those programs built up in your opinion?
Tradition, back when there were not 4 other schools in the Converse district, or 3 other schools, and it was just Judson, it was phenomenal, because the closest thing to them you had was San Antonio Roosevelt. Now picture this, in 1995 or 96, might have been 96, Judson and San Antonio Roosevelt both won state, and they're 10 miles apart. So you had Judson won 5A D1, and then San Antonio Roosevelt won 5A D2. So you had one division at the time, 2 divisions, but You had two high schools about at the most 12 to 15 miles away from each other, both win state. So tradition. Um, Being under Jim Rackley was phenomenal. He he's one of the coaches that I emulate myself or my coaching style after, because enthusiasm is key, making sure you're doing the right thing and then put your name on it and your stamp on it, meaning work so feverishly hard that no one can complain about you doing your job the right way, because they're going to see it in the kids when they're out there on the football field, whether it's Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, and how hard they play for not only you, but the tradition, the community, and things of that nature. So it's just, when you see coaches pour so much into their craft, the community, the school, you want to do right by them when you coach, because they're a part of your coaching pedigree. And since they're a part of your coaching pedigree and lineage, you don't want to let them down. So to this day, I appreciate everything he did for me in that short amount of time, because they had been there 30 plus years. I mean, you had gentlemen who were in their, I'd say, late 40s or early 50s, still getting after it. And at the time I was in my 20s, and like, I'm watching these guys in the mat room, in the weight room, everybody's running around, blowing a whistle, enthused about their job, because it's a blessing to be a part of a culture like that. It's a blessing to be around men like that, teaching young men to do everything right to the best of their ability every chance you get. And there's nothing wrong with doing the right thing all the time. And I tell people all the time, do the right thing. If everybody's doing wrong, you still do right, because right is right and wrong is wrong. And at the end of the day, you'll get your blessing, because at the end of the Bible, we win. So, I just tell guys, just keep doing the right thing. Keep doing the right thing no matter what. Keep doing the right thing, and you will get your blessing. And even if you don't feel like it's coming, it's coming. We win. In the end, we win. So just being a part of that phenomenal tradition, and then at South Oak Cliff, establishing that phenomenal tradition under Emmitt Smith before he went on to Texas Tech. South Oak Cliff was known as a basketball school because they had won 5 championships. So they were, when we went there, everybody was like, football, and it was just like, hey, if you think about coming off that hardwood, I remember a gentleman we had to convince, we call him Junior, J.F. Thomas, 6'4" point guard. And it was like, dude, do you realize what you could do if you come off of that basketball court onto this football field, catch 3 fades and maybe 1 post, and the rest is history. And one of the games that I can recall is when we played, not Frisco Centennial, but I believe it was Frisco High School, one of the Frisco schools, the Burgundy and Gold, in the Cotton Bowl. And the final score was 78-3. But 78-35. Yes, they did score 78-35. But when we played them, it was coming back home. We were playing on grass in South Dallas in the Cotton Bowl. And some of the plays that he made and Jordan Stevens made, he was a 10-2 guy. He was, you give him that inside zone. If that linebacker rock and rolls wrong, he was gone. And so he was a phenomenal talent. And it was just things and intricacies that we had, and the team camaraderie, and guys had bought in. We had a youngster, David Johnson, out there throwing RPOs before RPOs were RPOs. We used to double tag plays and put certain players in a conflict. And, depending on, we call it if then, we double tag plays. If the linebacker, immediately played that B gap, we're throwing that stick route, or we're throwing that bubble, the now screens, things of that nature. And we were just, with our speed and our ability, we were, inside zone team, heavy inside zone team, not wide zone, not outside zone, but we were inside zone, and we were throwing the checks, we were throwing the sticks, and we'd go over the top. If you roll down less than 7 yards, we'd throw over the top in a heartbeat. Like I tell guys to this day, we, speed and space. If anybody rolls down and plays us less than seven yards, in 2 steps, we should be by them in 6 yards. It should not take you more than 2 to 3 steps to get by a guy and he's standing at 6 yards. If it does, I need to look at someone else because that means you're running a little slow for my liking. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
Speed,
we
speed
need
and
the
space.
real.
We love
Speed
it.
and space. Speed and space. And I tell guys, you have to cultivate these athletes. We work so hard, we train so hard. Coaches think we just go out there and do, what we do. No, we put in hours, call it lonely work. But also, when we're up there as coaches and the kids are up there and they're just throwing the ball or they go out to the field and they come up on Sundays just to throw and just to watch film with us. We didn't call, we didn't text, we didn't anything. That's just the expectation. And when the groundwork is laid and they understand, that's when the culture is built. And I tell coaches, you'll know when your culture is built when your student athletes want to just hang out with coach. Coach, just wondering what you were doing. Coach, just hanging out. Coach. And, not, hey, coach, can you shoot me $20? I need some pizza. Or, not wanting anything, but just when they want to be around you. That's when you've built a nice fraternity, a football fraternity, and they want to be around and, just hang out because they appreciate what you're doing for them. And then in return, the expectation on Friday night or Saturday during the playoffs is, all right, I'm going to put you in the best situation for us to keep playing all the way until December to get to Jerry's World.
The ultimate goal. I love
Yes,
it.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Talk off of that, like the culture part, that's been a lot of the conversation around Sark. He was just recently on another podcast and talking a lot about it and what he's created as well. And that he feels like it's finally right for him at UT and what he's created. And that was his number one goal, on the field, of course. Like, he's like, we got great players, we got great coaching staff, but like, we also have the culture that he wanted and the place that people want to be at. And I think like your energy speaks for itself and everything you've been talking about as well. And I just know that every player would want to hang out with you and love the culture that you build.
I swear I don't say this lightly and I don't take it lightly. I'm a kid magnet just because I always said I want to be the type of coach that I wanted when I was coming out of high school. That's just it, And to me, I wanted that coach that understood me and that also realized that it was bigger than football. That's why when I start this foundation, Bigger Than Ball, I want to dedicate myself to reaching back, mentoring, helping those guys during the pivotal transitional years between 18 to 25. And then not only that, between 26 and 40, pivot away from sports and athletics, because sometimes guys can get caught up in what I did 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Okay, that's cool, fine and dandy. That's great. We can Google you, all that. But let's worry about this next generation, because when we start limping and gimping around, we're going to need somebody to put forth the same efforts we did when we were coming along and help the next group of kids strive for greatness and invest in the next group of kids do the same thing that we're doing. And Sark's doing a phenomenal job, man. Phenomenal job. I love the fact that he reached back and got some of the best minority high school football coaches in the state of Texas. Coach Gilbert, love him to death. Coach Fenner, love him to death. Have both of their numbers, give them a call. They'll be like, yo, bro, what's up? Hey, yay, so we'll just have off the beat conversations about anything, and like I say, it's bigger than ball. It's more about relationships, they know me, I know them outside of football. And that's the type of relationships that you have to have in this business. And, I remember going to the first coaching clinic that Coach Sark had put on for the Texas coaches. It wasn't that packed, but previously Coach Herman, he had put on a clinic and it went to the bubble. Like it was so packed they had to stop guys from coming in and move everything into the indoor facility that they didn't think the turnout was going to be as big as it was. Well, fast forward a couple of years, now the clinic that Coach Sark recently put on It was just as bad. And I tell people, everyone loves a winner. Everyone loves a winner. And he's put together the pieces of the puzzle from the culture to the coaching staff to where, and the wins to where now, okay, he's putting his money where his mouth is, so to speak, because he laid out a list of things of what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, and he got it done. And it wasn't all smoke and mirrors. And he went out and he recruited and he took care of business. And I'm like, now, to me, that's a man's man. What do you mean? He set out a goal and he conquered that goal. He smashed that goal in less time than he said he was going to do it. And then he reset that goal and said, now you're a bust. And I totally feel and I totally believe, like you said, had we had Brooks, it would have been a rough against Washington. And I'm like, but it is what it is, and everything happens for a reason. And just looking at some of the recruits they have coming in, oh my goodness, we now, and like Sark said, he said, give me a year or two, we're gonna get some Bama bodies in Austin, Texas. And lo and behold, they've got Bama bodies in Austin, Texas. And I love it. And they've got long and rangy around there as well. And I'm like, ooh-wee. So just looking at the type of athlete they're able to recruit and bring in now, and the facilities what they've done with the facilities and so on and so forth, I'm just like, why not Austin? I grew up in Austin, being a graduate of Pflugerville High School in 95. Okay, nobody laughed. Okay. Being a graduate of 95, I remember the old stadium with the track around it. I remember the old stadium that was not horseshoed, no Jumbotron. I remember the old drum that's now demolished, and you have the new state-of-the-art facility. I remember not having the track facility. I remember not having the indoor, things of that nature. And I can't wait till they finish the new indoor, because I know that's going to be phenomenal, So just big things. And like I say, win games and great things happen. Win games, greatness happens. And, I'm excited. I'm excited for those guys because basically they're reaping what they sowed.
Just want to give you a few kudos. I worked in life skills at LSU for a little while. So hearing you say it's so much bigger than sports, speaks to my heart and my soul, because it really is, right? Like teaching them how to be men and how to have success on and off the field is so huge.
Yes, ma'am.
To help these kids.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I tell guys, use football as a catalyst to capitalize on your future. Because I tell them all the time, age catches up with all of us. You're not going to be able to run as fast and, lift as much, so on and so forth. But those degrees are forever. But they could be the foundation to generational wealth or the cure for the generational curse. I remember a mentor of mine, he said that education is the grand equalizer poverty. Now I was like, wow. So with that being said, I preach that to this day, because if you think about it, it really is, it opens doors for you that otherwise may be closed, because if you don't have that BA or that master's, then, they may look over that resume that's a damn good resume, or that employee or that potential employee that may be a damn good employee, but you don't have the foundation of what they're looking for. So if you don't have the foundation of what they're looking for, then they won't even consider you from time to time. So that's why I pride myself in helping guys as well as girls, young ladies, develop that foundation to where whatever their future endeavors are, they're able to conquer those future goals and plans. And that's why I say it's bigger than ball. But ball has been the foundational catalyst for so many people that look like myself, because we had no other options. My mother succumbed to breast cancer in 91. And I remember my father sitting me and my siblings down and saying, well, money's tight and I won't be able to send all three of y'all to school. So You got to learn how to shoot a hoop, run a ball, or, you know, do something the best way you possibly can, better than someone else, in order to possibly get some endowment to get to school, because he knew the importance of school. He just wasn't able to finish. You know, he was a semester away before my brother was born. And so at that time, he was raised without a father. So he made a point to say, I will take care of my family. And he left school, and, you know, with 12 hours left on from receiving his BA, he never finished. And I was like, oh no. So that's just a testament of why I say I will always be a lifelong learner, so on and so forth, because I see the advantages of being degreed and knowing what you know. You know, that's why I'm a PhD candidate.
Yay!
Okay. Yes, it's different. Let me tell you, it's different. But it's all good though. But it's just different.
This has been amazing, Coach Padgitt. Like,
Oh, thank you.
truthfully,
Thank
we
you.
could probably talk to you all night. By the way,
No problem.
I did meet Coach Finner. He gave me and Frank a tour of Moncrief, and
Oh yeah.
everything that you said is so on point. And upon meeting him, me and Frank definitely had a discussion about him after we left, just because he is exactly what these kids need, and they relate to him. He's so down to earth. He's homegrown, Austin, Texas, and so just being able to experience like being in the same room with him, I was like, okay, Coach Sark, like actually he's really doing some stuff that's a little bit different. So absolutely.
Okay, we have to leave with, what do you think the record is going to be for UT this year?
I was looking at that honestly, and I don't want to snake bite anybody. You know, if you stay healthy, you know, if Ur doesn't go down with the shoulder early and so on, but I don't know. Manning is Manning, man. Like, gosh almighty. Like, I love how Sark is handling that, though. He's handling that better than a lot of coaches would. And I love him for that, because, I mean, if the job, okay, no, the job's not finished, but no, the job's not lost. Like, you can't move a guy out of the way because of his name. And I know Manning is a phenomenal talent, but the job's not lost. But if you think about it, a lot of other coaches would be like, well, you know, I've got Manning back here, man. I mean, hey, who is it? Quentin, hey, but, you know, I love the fact that Quentin's a God-fearing man. That's one. You know, he understands where his power comes from. And to me, that's his foundation. And, you know, you can't fight a man like that. You know, he's taking care of his business as well. You know, you can tell from his body and his frame, he's approaching the game differently than he has in the past. You know, and I love that. And his stock is going, you know, through the ceiling as well. But I honestly think UT may run the table if they stay healthy. If they stay healthy, and that's why I didn't want to put it out there. But if they stay healthy, there's going to be some battles. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, going to the coaching clinic, listening to those coaches, I mean, every one of them's on fire, especially Coach Choice. He's always on fire, you know, but everyone's on fire. Like, everyone around there is on fire because they're excited about what's to come. Hell, I'm excited about what's to come after seeing all those touchdowns during the spring game. I was like, dang, they lighting it up like that. And the thing about it was, Manning was what, 23 for 25 or something like that? I was like, gosh almighty. So in this day and age, you need two great quarterbacks. You need two good quarterbacks. And I tell people all the time, you know, competition breeds excellence. You know, you're only one play away from being the starter. You're one play away from being the man. So don't look at yourself as a backup, pair like the starter, and you when that time comes, you know, it's go time. We don't want to hear, oh, well, I'm just the backup, or I thought, no. When you get your shot, go in there and play like you're the starter, and, you know, get your blessings, because once you're the starter, you're going to have the expectation of being that starter. And I really feel that with the numbers you all have, and the trench warfare that you all have now, you've got guys that are going to, yeah. I'm a firm believer that if you all stay strong and healthy, you're gonna stay fast. Because the training, they do speed training like we do speed training, but of course y'all are on another level with it and the greatest technology, so on and so forth. But we've been doing speed weights and how far you move that bar and all that, and sprints. You got to sprint fast and run fast to be fast. Love it. But with the bodies you all have, if you all stay healthy, I see UT in the big dance, and I can't wait. I can't wait. Don't tell anyone I said that, though. I say that when we're on the podcast.
We're not going to get caught in another Rose Bowl situation with Colt right now.
Say, hey.
Don't say it. Don't say
that.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm going to leave that one alone and just say, my prediction is if UT stays healthy, got a shot. I can't wait.
I think that's why I have PTSD. We've been talking about where we want to go, and I don't think I want to go to Rose Bowl.
I tell people that, everything's so money driven, and they'd be crazy if you don't put the final games in the best climate around. You're going to lose money if you're not somewhere in the South or out West. So they've got to look at that. In that time of the year, it's got to be in the southern regions or out west. So
basically,
like this.
You're saying like Dallas. Like, to me, that's indicating like a lot of Dallas and a lot of New Orleans, probably.
Jerry's World, Mercedes-Benz in New Orleans, or depending on how things go out west, we'll see. Because what I did hate was the ratings and everything that came in from the two teams that finalized the season and so on. I mean, just looking outside of the coaching lens, because it was some phenomenal football. But, turning on the TV or hearing, the ratings were down for the first time ever in 20 years and, ticket sales and so on and so forth, because you had two teams that weren't from the region playing in the southern region, so on and so on. And it was like, okay, but if everything works out like it should, UT should be one of those teams in the final when it's all said and done. So
can't wait.
Yes,
I can't either.
Just appreciate all of your time.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. Anytime. Send me a link, send me a text, if you need some others on, or, if I can help you all in any way, get to various platforms, or, sing your praises at the Texas High School Coaches Association Convention, by all means, I will,
Thank
because
you.
Everybody needs to know about the girl herd. I mean, honestly, everybody needs to be able to, speak freely and have a voice, and I firmly believe in that, and that you all are doing a great justice for us, poor little high school coaches.
We really appreciate it and love everything that you're doing.
Thank you again so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Oh man, anytime. Like I said, anytime, it could be the girl herd plus one guy, or the girl herd plus one, or however y'all want to spin it. But yeah, great luck to you all. I can't wait to catch some more episodes. I know I'm gonna tag this on all my socials and tell guys to like and follow and everything else. And I appreciate the platform that y'all are giving us once again.
Thanks so much. Enjoy your evening, Coach Padgitt.
Y'all do the same. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.